guys, welcome back to my channel. My name is Sean, and in today's video we'll be talking all things rhinestone template tumblers. So I have some printed out here. I'm actually going to make one to show you the steps and how to use them in case you were to purchase the digital template. Then you would know what steps you would need to take to get it pressed onto your tumbler correctly. And then I do have some tumblers here as well that I've already put the pattern on there. And so this is how they'll look once you have the pattern pressed on. So you will need a sublimation printer to print the digital templates, and you'll also need a heat press to press, or a convection oven, either or. And so here's another example of one, and then this one here. So the purpose of these tumblers are to basically just give you a guide so you get the perfect bling tumbler every single time. And a lot of people find them really helpful, whether you're beginner or advanced. I know a lot of people struggle with the honeycomb pattern, and once you mess up a row, that can mess up the rest of your tumbler. It'll be off. So these templates are basically a guide so you'll have the perfect bling tumbler every single time. So they're really good, whether, again, you're a beginner or advanced, working with rhinestones and blinging tumblers. And I will have these tumblers. I'll have the link below. If you wanted to purchase them, they are available on my website. So I do have one that I'm going to bling on camera. I actually have a few, these three here, but I'm going to bling one, or not bling one, sorry, sublimate one. So if you're purchasing a digital template like this, you'll know the steps you'll need to take to make sure you press it onto your sublimation tumbler correctly. So I'm going to go ahead and grab my supplies, and then we're going to get started. All right, so I have all my supplies here. So I have a 20-ounce skinny sublimation tumbler. Now, even though it's 20 ounce, all 20 ounces are not created equal. I've learned that the hard way. So I'm going to show you a way to test your template against your tumbler to make sure that it is going to line up correctly. I also have my heat tape here, and then my cutter. So the first thing I like to do is you want to choose a side, so one of the sides, and you're going to cut it as close as possible without cutting on the rhinestones, or on the holes for the rhinestones. And then I'm also going to take some off the top as well, which will be the top of the tumbler. And actually I have that upside down, so I want to make sure the bees are facing up. So I'm going to take some off the top and then off the side, and then I'll show you what I do next. So first, I'm going to go ahead and line this up. And I'm going to try to get this as close as possible, again, without cutting into my stones. And so that looks pretty good. And then I'm going to do the same on the other side, but I'm not going to cut it all the way over. I'm going to leave a little bit of the sublimation paper on there. Not too much, but a little bit. And then the top, I want to get the top as close as possible as well, again, without cutting into the stones. And so take your time when you're doing this, because once you cut it, I mean, you can cut it a little bit at a time, but once you cut too much, you can't put it back. So just take your time when you're measuring where to cut. Okay, so I'm good right there. And then I'm gonna just take a little bit off the bottom. You don't have to, it's just something that I do, but it's not something that you necessarily need to do. Okay, so I have it all cut out now. And I'm gonna just put this down here. And so I'm gonna take my sublimation tumbler and I'm going to take the top, the open side, and I'm going to face that down because when I'm going to put my tumbler or my template on with the top of the tumbler facing down. So if say you have two different brands of 20-ounce tumblers, one thing that I like to do with the tumbler, the top facing up, after I've trimmed everything down, I like to take it and place it on the tumbler and just kind of line it up. Make sure everything looks good and lines up correctly like it should. And if it does, then you know you have a good fit. You don't need to make any adjustments. Now, my suggestion, if you're not sure about your sizing on your tumbler, I wouldn't use your sublimation paper. We all know sublimation paper and ink is a little bit pricey. So if you have another printer, I would say use if you have a black and white printer or print in grayscale. That way you're not wasting your sublimation paper or your ink. So just print it out in black and white and you can test it that way too. And so once you've lined everything up and you see, okay, everything lines up, I'm good. And I'm just moving mine around here. And yeah, it lines up great. So now I know that I'm good to go. It lines up perfectly. So now I'm gonna turn my tumbler back upside down. I'm gonna make sure the top is also down. And then I'm going to make sure I have it tight as well. You wanna make sure you have it tight. And I'm gonna grab my tape. But first, I'm just gonna double check and make sure it lines up. And I am gonna move it just a little bit. Okay. And so I just wanna make sure it's even, everything matches. And I just need to adjust a little bit here. And take your time doing this as well, because once you press this on, it's on there. And so I'm just kind of looking to make sure it all lines up and everything looks good. So then I'm going to grab this as tight as I can and start putting tape on here to hold it in place. And make sure you're pressing that tape down as well. And all the supplies that I'm using, I'll have linked below in the description box as well, just in case if you're new or if you don't know where to get something from. I'll have everything linked for you below. All right, and then I like to put one piece also at the top just to make sure it doesn't slide or move or anything like that. And so this is how I normally wrap or tape up my tumbler. I don't put the tape at the top, at the bottom, you know, all the different pieces. With my press is pretty good, so I haven't had any issues. I just put the pieces down the center and press it and I'm good to go. So I'm gonna go ahead and my press is heated up already. So I'm gonna go over to the press. I'm gonna press this and then I'll be right back. All right, I am back. We have our tumbler, everything all pressed, and it is smoking hot. And yes, I normally use two different gloves. So this one is like an oven mitt, and this one just makes it easier to work with my tweezers to get the tape off. So in case you were wondering, that's why I have two different gloves on. So I like to try to peel the tape off while it's still hot. I realize it peels up a lot easier when I do it that way. And so I'm gonna just go peel this up and I'll speed through this part. Okay, so we got that all peeled off, and then we're just gonna take that off. And as you can see, it got all that ink off of there, which is what we want. And then this is how your tumbler will turn out. Let me put that in the garbage. And so this is how the tumbler will turn out. And I'm going to insert a clip because these real quick to show you what it kind of looks like with some rhinestones on there, and then I'll be right back. So I wanted to insert a clip showing you how the rhinestone template tumblers look once you have rhinestones on them. And as you can see, you would just place your stones right on top of each of these circles here, and it'll give you your straight rows for your honeycomb pattern, because we all know once you mess up on a row, that's going to affect the rest of your tumbler. So this is just a guide so you can get that straight honeycomb pattern on your tumbler. Now there is a seam that you will see on the tumbler, but as you can see, once those stones are on there, you won't be able to notice that seam. So there's no gaps or anything like that. You won't be able to see the seam. So once you bling it all the way down to the bottom, you won't even be able to see any of these holes, the seam, or anything like that. So I just wanted to throw in a quick example of how it looks once you start putting your rhinestones onto your tumbler. All right, so now you see that even though that seam is there, you're still going to get a very straight and neat line. And once you've completely blinged out your tumbler, you won't be able to see that seam or any of the design that's on the tumbler itself. You'll just be able to see that shine and from those rhinestones. So this is how it turned out. Again, just take your time when if you're purchasing a digital template to print out on sublimation from your sublimation printer and using a heat press or a convection oven to press it. Just take your time cutting that image down to make sure it fits your tumbler. Before you even print out the image, print it out in grayscale or on a black and white printer, and then make sure that it fits, so you're not wasting your paper, your ink, or even messing up a tumbler, because these supplies, they're not cheap. We all know that as crafters. So I just wanted to give you all an overview of how to use these rhinestone templates for your sublimation tumblers, and that little example of that clip I inserted showing you how they look once you put those stones on there. They look really, really good. So I'll have everything linked in the description box below. If you all have any questions, please let me know in the comments, and I will see y'all out in the next video.